Hello and welcome to Rabbit Hole Roundtable Talks, the show we take a topic and we deep dive into it. Today we're gonna be doing something a little bit differently. We had a little bit of last minute stuff come up. We're gonna talk about that, but we're gonna be talking about some news stories that we found recently, and by recently I mean within the past 2 seconds. And we're gonna just deep dive into them, give our thoughts, and just have some fun. I'm joined as always by Mino, my co-host. What's up?
Hey, Wanted.
What's
Yeah, today's gonna be. I was trying to do my news anchor voice. I don't know if I can do that, but yeah, I'm feeling pretty good today. I am a little nervous about today's episode because I haven't read any of these articles besides the title
Mhm.
and maybe like the first paragraph.
That's fine.
Um, so we'll see how it goes.
All right, let's go with the first one. Wait, no. Let's talk about why we're streaming at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah. So, life,
Hmm.
kids,
Yeah.
but the real truth of the matter is, so I am trying to buy a house, and open houses happen usually on Fridays or Saturdays.
Hmm.
And so yesterday, I mean today, sometimes Sundays. Today we wanted to see an open house uh, for a place that we were interested in. So that's what we did. That's what we were supposed to do. But I have a little plot twist for you.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I worked out yesterday, and I have to work out today. But I worked out yesterday, and your boy slept through the entire thing. We did not go to see the house.
Wow. Wow.
As a matter of fact, I woke up and texted you as soon as I woke up, and I texted, "I'm home." That was
Wait,
the
wait,
first thing
wait.
I did.
No, no, no. 'Cause I expected you to be out and about. So I said, bro, tell me how far you're from the house. So you're like, I'm home. I'm like, oh, he already got back.
I know. That's how you interpreted it, but I was like, I can't let him know that I didn't go to see the house because that's the whole reason we pushed this stupid thing back. And here it is. I just slept. I slept through all my alarms. I slept
Jeez.
through the sun rising. Shoot, it could
Mhm.
have been a crow. It could have been a freaking cock outside crowing. I would not have heard him. I was knocked out.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, but
Oh
I mean,
man.
I did intend to go look at houses today,
Hmm.
but I just didn't. And my wife didn't wake up either. We actually went to sleep 6 a.m., so that might be part of it too.
Yeah, you gotta fix this sleep schedule, man. We gotta talk about sleep on these podcasts.
I really do. I really do. Um, I'm gonna try though, because I have to actually drive into work on Tuesday.
Hmm.
By my own volition, I decided to go into work because it's sometimes easier for me to run programs and run code on site
Hmm.
because I think for some reason the LAN is better than the obviously the VPN.
Yeah.
So I'm probably gonna drive in. So I have to definitely go to sleep because I have to wake up at 2 or 3 a.m.
Hmm.
because it's like an hour drive and I want to get there by 6.
Okay.
So
I feel like I have some, well, I have like zero
actually
blame.
it's a 2 hour drive. Sorry.
I have zero blame, but I'll take like 5% blame because work has been crazy too. We had a big emergency happen where the sewer system stopped working basically. So it was just backing up into the
Jeez.
streets. So we had MOT set up, which is basically cones on the road to block off the lane. But we know people are not necessarily the best drivers here in Florida. So we had to take shifts just watching to make sure no one drives into the cones or whatever like that. So I was going to work at, well, the first night, I went to work at 7 a.m., worked till 4. I stayed from 4 until 7 a.m., worked until 4 again, and that's when I went home.
Wow.
Yeah,
So you basically worked for
30,
24,
32 hours.
30, 32 hours?
Yeah.
Golly, do you not need to sleep?
I mean, I do, but money is good too. The second night I
Yeah.
took off because no, I didn't work Wednesday because my wife's birthday was Wednesday. But I went into work that same midnight from that birthday, and I stayed from 12 until 4. I did that again. So I
Happy
had
birthday, wanted wife.
two 16-hour shifts and one 32-hour shift this week.
Sheesh.
Our AC is also out, so we're not even home. We're at an Airbnb right now. So I didn't have time to actually like look through anything or plan anything for this.
Wow.
Yeah. But
Damn.
we're here either way.
Man, y'all going through a lot.
Yeah. That Airbnb is bittersweet though. 'Cause it's an Airbnb, it's nice, it's posh, you feel like a king. my son could run around and play and all kind of stuff. And I was like, I wish I had this. And I got to come back
Yeah,
home
like
to
permanently.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And I know y'all was also looking for a house as well.
Yeah.
Um, is that still happening, or you guys
We started the
picking up
process
a house?
over and it's actually looking better now because we used most of our tax return and some extra money I took out of the stock market to pay down like most of our debt down to zero. And we've been just managing that from like a month or two, and they're like, "You have some good credit." So now we could actually start the process over again. Hopefully, get a FHA, and then in the next 2 months or so, probably close if we find something we like.
Yeah. It would be nice if both of us got houses around the same time.
Yeah.
Kinda, because only issue I have with that is that we won't be able to do a housewarming party with each other because you live in Florida and I live in Maryland.
Well, we could do it
But
virtually.
I mean, I guess we could do it OnlyFans style.
Oh man,
With that said, let's get right into the first.
which is not what we talked about at all, by the way. All right, well, you go and head us off on the right path.
So this is completely unrelated to what we're just talking about. But anyway, baby formula has arrived in Indianapolis from Germany on U.S. military aircraft to address critical need. This is a CNN article and it's published May 22nd, so today. Nice. All right, so I'm just going to read a little bit of it because I haven't actually read the article fully. As you guys know, I literally pulled this up like 2 minutes before we started the podcast. So I hadn't had time to read, and I was looking all over the place. I looked at uh, CNN, I think I looked at ABC, and I looked at Fox News, and so I was trying to get a wide range of news outlets and also like right leaning, left leaning kind of stuff. But I picked topics that aren't politically charged. So hopefully these aren't politically charged. I don't think they are. Well, I guess some of them are now that I'm thinking about it. But well, let's just begin. So a shipment of 35 tons of baby formula has arrived Sunday in Indianapolis on a U.S. military aircraft from Germany to address nationwide shortage. This prescription formula will be distributed to areas around the country where there is the most acute need. A Biden administration official earlier told CNN, but the official said none of the first shipment would land on store shelves in the US, adding that Sunday's shipment is hypoallergenic and will be fed to babies intolerant of protein in cow milk. All right, so the shipment included 132 pallets of formula and blah, 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 skipping. Okay, and the White House said that the shipment was the equivalent of 1.5 million doses of 8-ounce bottles. All right, so I'm gonna skip to the next section.
I like how our skimming is actually the same. Like we skim to the exact same parts of it. Like we just know to skip to like the important parts while we skim. That's cool.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I already know what I want to talk about with this, but I
Hmm.
just trying to like give
Yeah,
more
yeah, yeah.
background. Frustration for American families. The shipment comes as the shortage of baby formula has caused major disruptions and frustration for some desperate American families. Already, some families have begun rationing their supply of formula, while others have turned to hospitals where they can't find the kind they need.
Mm,
Dang, that sucks.
yeah.
It's a clear sign, and in a clear sign uh, of the deep effects of the crisis, a doctor at some hospital, oh, let me just say it, Le Bon here, Children's Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee, said last week that he admitted two young patients, a toddler and a preschooler, because the specialty formula they needed is out of stock and they haven't been able to tolerate any replacements.
Mm.
Sheesh. All right, moving on. The out-of-stock baby formula hovered between 2% and 8% in the first half of 2021, but began rising sharply last July between. I wonder what's causing the shortage. I wonder if they cover that. They don't, as far as
They
I'm
did
seeing.
close down the largest plant in February.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody said, let me see who says this. Pressed by bash on how the US ended up in a position in which the baby formula has to be airlifted into the country, Deese in part blamed market consolidation. it goes back to this question of how we can bring more competition in our economy. Have more providers have this formula so that no individual company has this much control over supply chains. Ooh, that's a good thing for us to talk about right there. The Biden administration official told CNN earlier that the product was coming from a factory that has already gone through US FDA approval, meaning US inspectors would only need to conduct spot checks. Those checks include ensuring that the product was not damaged in transit and has appropriate labeling. An FDA inspector was on site to conduct the spot check. Separately, Nestle is also going to conduct its own quality check at its local distribution site. And I think that's enough for us to understand what's going
I have one more thing to add. There was
on. Yeah.
recently a recall on a bunch of formula as well.
Wow. All right. So I think I should start off with an anecdote,
Hmm.
or we could both start off with anecdotes here, because my wife actually has a friend who had a baby recently, a premature baby,
Hmm.
who made one. And so like her baby can only drink certain kind of milk right now because
Hmm.
apparently you have to have a catch-up year or something like that, I heard.
Yep.
So um, the mom she's a pediatrician,
Hmm.
and she was looking for this formula on Amazon and all kind of stuff. And people were posting hacks on Amazon, like if you change your country to Canada, then you could get formula. But apparently, it didn't work for this specific formula.
Hmm.
So she had to like reach out on social media and all kinds of things to try and get help. And luckily, my wife is always on social media. I mean, I guess it comes with pros, I guess.
It does.
And she saw her friend post and she was like, hey, let's do something nice for my friend. I was like, sure. So we went and we bought some formula that we luckily found in a Walmart somewhere. It still wasn't the correct one, but it was a good substitution.
Hmm.
So we bought, and we could at Walmart they were saying you could take 5 per child per person, something like that. So it's like if we had 2 children, we could have take 10 each, me and Diana. So we could have had 20,
Okay.
right? But we just took 2 because we were like, it doesn't make sense for us to take like 5 or even 10.
Yeah.
Let's just take 2. She literally told us only to get 1. And I
Mm.
was like, whenever somebody tells you just buy 1,
Yeah.
they're probably underestimating the situation. Let's just buy 2. So that's why we decided to buy 2.
Yeah.
So we got it. And she was so happy and relieved because she literally couldn't find a formula. And that's my anecdote.
We have edible caramel in the chat. She's screaming, so happy to see us. She says good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Um,
Slap is what?
what?
Oh, I thought you said slap his something.
Edible caramel?
Never mind. Don't mind me. Don't mind me. I blanked. I blanked out in the middle of your sentence, I think.
So my son was also born premature. I needed like Similac. It provides more calories than they would normally get from breast milk or any other milk. So that's why it's important for him to have that. He's just been weaning himself off of it now because he's actually pretty big for his size for being premature. So now he's on to like regular whole milk. But I feel like we should talk about your humanity in that situation where you could have gotten 5, which would have been okay to do. You could have gotten 10, which would have still been good to do, but you guys only got 2 because you're still thinking about everybody else. And I feel like in this world we're living in right now, we need more people that can actually do something like that. They can say, okay, I need 3, maybe I'll get 4 because somebody else may need 1 as well. You know, like people don't do that
Yeah.
nowadays. They just say, I could take 20, I'm gonna take 40 just because. Like send the
Yeah.
husband in, send the wife in, each get 20 and then just beat the system like that.
Yeah. Actually, the MK wife was telling me, which is my wife. I try to come up with a cool name like Wanted Wife. But anyway, so my wife was telling me that she's actually been seeing people buying up all the formula and then trying to sell it for
Oh yeah.
double.
Oh yeah.
And it's weird people do these like so like immoral things. Like, come on, no. Why would you do that? It's
I don't
so unnecessary.
I don't think it's really
And
immoral though. Technically it's not.
technically it's not, but I feel like on one hand it's like let's say you do it and you literally don't have no children. I buy up the formula, I don't have no kids, and then I try and sell it back. I feel like part of it is I feel like two issues might be the root cause of this. One is capitalism. The money
Definitely.
is God, basically.
Hmm.
But I think the second one is everybody is pretty much poor in this country. Unless you're like part of the top 1%, we don't really have a middle class anymore. It's just the rich and the poor is now.
Yep, yep.
So people feel like they need to make money any way possible. And so you have stuff like this happening.
Hmm.
I mean, I could be wrong, but that's what I think.
I mean, that's what you read. That's why I thought when you read about the monopolization of the formula in the first place. There's only one company making it, so if something happens to that company, no formula, basically.
Yeah. And it also remind me of back home, like how we only have one electric company.
Hmm.
That company basically overcharging for electricity. Maybe not, maybe they actually need that much money for whatever reason,
Yeah, we don't know the
but
ins and outs. Yeah.
we don't have any competition. So there's no need for them to like actually innovate or become more efficient or nothing because they
Hmm.
don't have any competition. And it's the same thing here. And it's my same worry with Amazon becoming a conglomerate, buying up all these companies. You know, they sell food, they sell groceries, they sell
Yeah.
literally everything you could think of now.
Hmm.
And it just seems like worrisome. Like, what if they like if they become a monopoly on this space, then what happens to other businesses or what happens to the competition? You know, do we now only have this one option? And if they ever decide, you know what, we don't want to ship to this one country anymore or this state anymore, now you screwed kind of thing.
I feel like that's gonna be a problem probably in the next 10 to 20 years, not right now. Because there's so much backlash against technology from like the old schoolers who just want to go to a store and buy stuff. So you still gonna have them. But once they start to perish, for lack of a better word, and it's just like the boomers that also want things now, 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 stores gonna probably just become less and less of a thing because you can just get it online right now.
Yeah. Or more stores will turn into warehouses, like kind of like costs.
Costco,
What's it called? Costco and like
Sam's,
Sam's and other
yeah.
places. They become more like that because at that point it don't make sense to um, sell things individually. Better to sell in bulk because there's not many stores left, so
I
it
think
don't
it's
make
better
sense.
to buy in bulk anyways.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially if it doesn't expire or you could freeze it. Why
Hmm.
not?
Yeah.
I
So
also wanted to talk. Go ahead.
sorry. I was reading about the recall. Abbott recalled three popular brands of powdered formula in February after reports that four infants drinking formula manufactured at the facility had fallen ill with rare and serious infections caused by Chronobacter sacansaki. I don't know what that is. Bacteria.
Wow.
Two of the babies died. So production at the facility was halted and remains paused. So since February, the largest producer of formula has been out. And if you go to the stores now, if you go right now, it's been empty, dust on the shelves.
Yeah. Even when we went in, we saw they actually had a lot of different formulas,
Mhm.
but then there were a few specific ones that were like completely gone. And I wonder if like maybe those few specific ones is what like most people need. Well, obviously, it's what
Yeah.
most people need.
Mhm.
Um, that's kind of crazy, man.
Yeah.
Also, I was reading an article. I kind of like I didn't share this one with us. I just kind of like saw it and I was like, oh, that's an interesting one too.
Mhm.
But basically, that there's gonna be a food shortage, or there
Mm.
is already a food shortage happening right now.
Kinda, yeah.
So that's another thing. I feel like, are we approaching the apocalypse right now? Like, we having food shortages. What's next? We're gonna have zombies.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't own. I need to buy some guns because I have to defend against the zombies.
Yeah.
Like,
And I feel like things are just going downhill. And like ever since COVID happened, it's just been downhill, you know? Shortages
yeah,
here, conspiracy theories here and there. It's like everything is just getting crazier and crazier.
yeah, for sure.
What do you think will
All
be the
right, well, let's move
first
on. Just
what do
kidding.
you think will be the first food to run out? Or the first thing to run out?
I hope meats,
Mhm.
and the reason why is because meats they need more to like to be produced.
Yeah.
You know, you need more land and stuff. And I think as starts to get low, I hope that they are smart enough to be like, you know what, let's instead of feeding these cows this food, let's reserve this land to grow food for human beings.
Mhm. Okay.
But then there are people who really love eating their meat, so I don't know. And people are selfish and dumb, so I expect them to make the wrong decision. So we'll see.
Oh. So you want me to be the first thing?
It should be.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry. People are selfish, dumb, and greedy. I forget to add that part in. But I would hope that meat would be the first thing to be like reduced
Yeah.
first.
We have a new chatter, Miss Williams. Welcome.
Hello.
I think
Sorry, I excited.
I agree with you, but I feel like it's gonna always have like vegetables in the stores, and then everything else gonna be gone. All the fruits and stuff gonna be gone, and then just have a bunch of
Yeah.
greens just there, and nobody's gonna take them. But they're the most expensive anyway, so that's probably why.
You think the vegans gonna finally be like, see, I told you.
I
I
don't know
told you
about
guys.
that, but they gonna be good. They can just go for a walk and eat all the food they need.
Yeah. Everybody gonna start getting healthy bowel movements now.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is it's very sad looking forward. Like, what if most of the Formula run though, like all the other ones that are not the main one? So what are they gonna do? Like thinking
Man.
forward, a lot of babies are gonna be malnourished probably because they don't have the extra that they need.
Ooh, let's think about this though.
Hmm.
What if this is the beginning of an evolution of humankind?
Into what?
So that we start, so the babies that survive are going to be the babies that don't need to eat as much, right?
Mhm.
So then humans going to slowly evolve into like a pseudo reptile kind of vibe where we don't need to eat as much because we evolved we evolved slowly to rely on less and less eating.
Okay.
It's a hypothetical.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I
don't
don't
patronize me.
I'm not even I'm just shaking my head, that's all. That's crazy though. Hopefully things get better soon and they stop monopolization, allow more people to try and make different things, and then it would help.
Yeah. All right. Well, in the future, where we have these pseudo reptilian children,
Uh-huh.
this next article is about children are more likely to succeed if they live in this type of environment. And here we go.
Oh,
And it's a nice, beautiful picture of a black family.
I
They
like
have
that.
way too many kids, in my opinion. They have 4 children. That's
Hey,
wild.
hey. I wanted 5 kids.
Sheesh.
I want to
I
start a
only want,
basketball team. It doesn't make money in perpetuity in the future.
well, why not just get 12 kids and have a football team? I don't know how much people make a football team, so please don't judge me if I got it wrong.
You good.
Um, so children with strong family connections are associated with high likelihood of flourishing in life, a new study found. Numerous studies have shown that strong family bonds lower the chances of poor outcomes in children, such as risky behaviors and drug abuse. But this study revealed that there may be positive outcomes as well. Lead study author Dr. Robert Whitaker, director of the Columbia Bassett Research Program at Columbia University in New York, he's the one who said that. So, What was different about this study? Oh, sorry, this is him speaking, or her. What was different about this study was it showed that the family connection is associated with thriving and not just surviving or avoiding harm. Pretty good. They surveyed over 37,000 children in 26 countries and found that adolescents who reported having a greater bond with their family also reported that they were succeeding in life. Okay. It was published in the Journal of Pediatrics, and it included children ages 11 to 13. This looks, I want to look up that study now, actually. All right, I'm going to move forward a little bit. So we're going to move to the next section. Children can thrive, not just survive. So children with the greatest level of family connection were over 49% more likely to flourish compared with those with the lowest level of family connection, according to the study. It's not enough to not have depression and anxiety to live a good life. Wow, I didn't know that. Actually, I honestly didn't know that. According to Elaine Rees, a professor of psychology at University of Otago in Dunedin, New Zealand, who was not involved in the study. A good life entails having some sense of purpose and meaning, which is what the flourishing scale is. I mean, scale in the study measured. Okay. Uh, and then the article goes on to talk about how to strengthen family connections and how other adults may impact your children and their ability to flourish. So let's talk about it.
I like that actually.
Me too.
I wish they would have
Um,
told us. Like you see, like you said, I want to read it myself now to actually look at the parameters so we can see like what a connection of family actually entails, you know?
yeah, yeah, that's true. Like, I wonder how they look at like disciplining children in terms of like the different methods. Some people use like uh punishments where like they restrict stuff. So like, oh, you can't play your game or you can't watch TV. Some
Mhm,
parents do what I call the violence discipline, which is oh, you can get spanking or whatever.
mhm,
And then there's a bunch of different ones. Like I remember when I was a kid, whenever like teachers would be like, okay, guys, be quiet, and then the class don't be quiet. Of course, she's like, okay, everybody stand up, put your arms above your head, and
mhm.
then we just stand there for like a long time with our hands up until you start to feel pain and stuff, or
Yeah,
like your hands out to the side,
yeah.
or like you would put your hands up to the side and hold books up,
Mhm.
stuff like that. Uh, I just wonder like which style, if they in the study covered that or not. I'm guessing they didn't because they were more looking at family bonds more than like
Yeah.
disciplinary things.
But I
But
mean, that could be something because a bond could be like, I don't feel that my parents love me because of how they discipline me, you
true.
know?
I also wonder like if it's more about how you communicate with your child too. Like
I agree.
if you explain to them why they're being punished compared to like just punishing them.
Mhm,
Because I feel like some kids, even if you tell them beforehand, like, hey, don't do this or else you're gonna get spanking,
mhm.
they still do it.
Yep.
But then because their attention span is so short and because they never existed in this world before,
Hmm.
they don't fully understand why they shouldn't do it in the first place.
Yeah.
Um, and then now they get spanked and they're like, oh, I just have to be more sneaky in the future
And
instead of like, I shouldn't do that again.
there's a lot of kids that have mental disabilities and mental shortcomings, so they don't really understand things the way that normal kids would, which I think it's a good way to look now compared to what it was before, because before it was you can't do this. Why? Because I said so. And like that was it. That doesn't
Yeah.
allow a child to understand things or to grow their mind. Like you can't do this. Why? Because if you do this, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. And you just explain to them and see how their brain works and do it over and over and over again until they understand you can't do this. And then they probably won't ask why, but they probably still would ask why, but you just tell them why. And it'll take less explaining
Yeah.
the next time.
You know what my grandmother used to tell me?
Oh boy.
When I was a kid, I used to be like, why? She used to be like, because Y have a long tail and W doesn't.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I used to just get so confused, like, what does that even mean?
Oh,
Y have a long tail and W doesn't. And I used to be like, and then she'd be like, go sit down.
go ponder this. Like,
Yeah. Go sit down. Like, damn. guess, I guess that got me to shut up.
uh, for real, because you like your brain is so into figuring out this complex riddle. Oh my goodness. Shoot. Do you think the sample size was big enough?
Let me see.
37K over 26 countries.
I would say probably. I'll say
Mm,
yes. I wouldn't know unless I do like a power test.
yeah, yeah,
But I assume it is 37,000 is a lot.
yeah. Okay.
That's a lot. A lot of sample sizes. I think if it's hard to get people to participate in your study,
Mhm.
um,
Oh yeah,
like
make
a
it.
hundred. It depends.
Yeah,
Honestly, it
yeah.
depends on how big the effect size is, like the effect that you expect to see.
Mhm.
Um, Sometimes the smallest sample size I would assume you could get in a study and still have a valid statistical outcome would probably be 100 people,
Yeah.
but that's like the bare minimum. And I would say like you probably shouldn't go with 100. You probably definitely need to go with
A
more than that.
hundred over
So
26
37,000 is
countries.
way more than that. And
Yeah,
it's also 26 countries, so you also have a diverse sample size potentially.
yeah. I feel like
So you could control for more stuff.
um we should have mandatory tests that aren't like standardized tests, but mandatory mental health tests during adolescence and before that.
I like that. That's a good idea.
You know what I mean?
But
Like
then
it's
what would they be for? What would that like help with?
just for like a baseline of mental health or a reading of where it's gonna end up, you know? Ask kids how they feeling, how do you think your family is treating you? Like, are you confident in yourself? Things like that. So you can spot from early on the kids that may or may not need help in the future with therapy or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And not
Yeah.
necessarily take action, just have it stored so you can go back and look at it when they get older. And you can trace trauma, you can trace how different events in their life affect them and things like that.
Yeah. One thing about this study that I feel is a little too vague
Mhm.
is thriving, not thriving. And like, how do they measure success?
Yeah.
What determines if a child was successful? Like,
Mhm.
especially since they only measured 11 to 13-year-old people. So,
Yeah.
what do they mean by success in that case? Like, I think most adults measure success in like, you got a good job or whatever. But for children, how do you measure success? Like,
Yep.
is it like they're doing well in school, I guess?
Hmm.
Or maybe they're like very good at securing scholarships, maybe? I don't know. Like, I don't really know how they measure
Yeah.
that.
You have to look into this a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. All right, I'm gonna pin this one. I was going to close the tab, but I'll leave it open because I need to definitely do some more
You
research.
don't have 37 tab open right now.
You have 30. Oh, me?
No, you do. Don't act.
I don't have 37 tabs. Thank you very much. I have 10.
It's a slow day for you.
Yeah, you know how it is.
I saw I look at
I let,
Mino's laptop when I was up there, and I'm like, what is this?
if you think I have a lot of tabs, you need to see my wife.
Man, but
If I have 50, she have 150.
that's crazy. Just close it. It's in your
I do.
history.
I don't look into history. Let's be honest.
Gosh.
I don't look into history. All right. So what happens when these kids grow up? Is potentially what happens in this next news article.
Hmm.
Students say restrictive new education laws are scary and frustrating. Minority and LGBTQ students say they feel they are living through a time when their values and even their identities are under attack.
Hmm.
Mm, right. George Izu, a 14-year-old student in Katy, Texas. Sorry, I was using my news reporter voice again, but I was trying to do a female reporter that time. Anyway, no longer feels like school is a place he can trust to fully teach him about history and current events. Since the passage of Texas law restricting how educators can discuss race and racism, Izu, who is black, has been frustrated and confused. He didn't understand, for instance, how one teacher could shy away from conversations about the Holocaust. I thought there was going to be more after that. The effects were horrible, but it's still important to learn about what happened because history is a loop, he said. If we don't learn what happened and how things like this happen, how are we supposed to prevent such things from happening in the future again? I
Bars.
agree with him. Izu said he now has to supplement his education with other sources he finds credible and trustworthy. I shouldn't have to do that. I should
Hmm.
be able to trust what my education is giving me, he said. I should be taught history, basically. As Republican lawmakers, and I really try to avoid politicalizing these things, but I feel like a lot of these things shouldn't be. Let's just take a pause right here.
Yo.
I feel like in America, a lot of things that should not be political are turned into political things,
Hmm.
and it doesn't need to be. And it reminds me of like the whole mask mandate thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey guys, wearing a mask reduces the spread of the disease. Let's all do this together as a country, to help people who might have autoimmune diseases. And by the way, and just to be a little bit pedantic, sorry audience if this bores you a little bit, but there are other autoimmune diseases besides HIV, like leukemia, for example. So there are people with autoimmune diseases, people who are allergic to, well, this is vaccines, so we just still talking about the mask. But there are people who are at higher risk, such as people who are old and fat, and I shouldn't say fat. People who are above medical BMI and stuff like that.
Mm.
So why not for your fellow man? Like we're supposed to be. I like to think like in a country, everybody should be like, this is our family kind of vibe. Not necessarily like we're all family, but like
Yeah.
I'm gonna look out for my fellow countrymen because it benefits me.
Hmm.
Or even if it doesn't benefit me, it benefits the country as a whole if we look out for each other, right?
Yep.
I don't know. I will go on a rant, but I don't want to do that. But I guess the TLDR is it just baffles me that people would be so selfish. Anyway, back to the article. And Republican lawmakers and school boards have proposed or passed education policies to restrict how topics like race and LGBTQ issues can be addressed in schools, removing access to certain books and banning transgender students from sports teams that align with their gender identities. I kind of agree with that one. But anyway, minority and LGBTQ students say they feel they are living through a time when their values and even their identities are under attack. And I'm guessing the article kind of continues with that. So I'm going to stop there.
Mhm.
Let's talk on it.
Um, yeah, I think it's a scary time to be like. I feel like we just got into a era where we were more open to talk about these things, and we were immediately going into an era where we're not talking about it anymore, which is like crazy. It's a fast turnover for me.
Yeah. So I think there's a balance here. I think on one hand, I agree with the students, like, yeah, your identity and stuff are being attacked. But on the other hand, I think some things just make sense, like not having trans women compete with cis women,
Hmm.
or not allowing trans men or boys to compete with cis boys. And it's because in one case, they're at an advantage, and in the other case, they're at a disadvantage.
Hmm.
And you don't want to, like, we have the separation of male sports and female sports for a reason. We want fair competition, as fair as it could possibly be. And we don't want situations where people are getting injured unnecessarily, or one team might have more of a certain gender or race or whatever because they feel like that's the most advantageous while the other one doesn't. You want it to be as equal as possible. And I think as much as I sympathize with them, like, oh, as a trans woman, I want to be able to compete with women because I'm a woman. But the reality is, you probably have more of an advantage. So it wouldn't make sense to me for you to compete with cis women. And I feel like my view is kind of controversial because I've literally had arguments online with people who
Hmm.
disagree with me.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's just common sense. Like I could be an ally with you, but still disagree that you shouldn't. Like I could still disagree with you even though I'm an ally. So
Yeah. I mean, I agree. And I agree that it's somewhat controversial, but we often look at things from a logical point of view. And we're not trying to attack. And I feel like that's where I draw the line because it's not really an attack. It's a conversation that should have a conclusion that should benefit everybody in the end. You know?
yeah,
You can't have
yeah,
a trans man competing with cis men because you're gonna lose. And the other way around, you have like the fastest female swimmer is not even biologically female. Like what if you was competing against males, you wouldn't be at the top. And it's easy to just jump ship and do what you want. I know it's, your identity and who you are, but at the same time there has to be certain things in place, like a separate category or a separate division so that you can compete if you want to compete, but you compete fairly.
actually had a solution for this. So in marathons, you have everybody competing all at once, but they still divide the times between the sexes.
Mm-hmm.
So they could just do that. Like they could still allow the trans woman to compete with women,
Mm-hmm.
but just say, boom, fastest cis woman, fastest trans woman. It probably gonna be like trans woman up here, cis woman down here, but the times will be separated
Yeah.
and not compared to each other. So I guess in that case, it would have two first place winners
Mm-hmm.
because they would be separate categories, even though they're competing in the same event.
But that wouldn't work for something like basketball or baseball though, because it's the scores is combined together.
Mm. I don't know. I would say maybe teams would have to. I don't know. I think it gets too complex now because it's like, oh
Yeah.
well, both teams have to have at least this many trans
Mhm.
women in
Yeah.
order for her to compete, kind of vibe. And it's
Yeah.
like, who gonna be out trying to scout that specifically? Like,
Yeah. And how you change the scores now? Do you have to do weighted scores? Do you have to do like a 0.5 points to 1 point? Like
yeah,
it's a bunch of stuff going on there.
right.
But
And
when it
no,
go
nobody
ahead.
gonna be going looking for no trans man
Yeah.
to compete with other cis men. Like, they know they're gonna be at disadvantage, so obviously they would not do that.
Yeah.
It's clean. But let's
When
talk about the other thing.
that's what I was gonna talk about
Go ahead.
race. Talking about race now is like when I first heard about the laws against, to me this is an attack for me personally because it's like you don't want to talk about things like slavery because you feel bad about it. Well, you're
I
supposed to
feel
feel bad.
icky.
You're
Ew.
supposed to feel bad
Am I a
about it.
dirty white person? Ew.
I mean, no one is blaming you. Like I'm not personally blaming anybody, but it's like this happened. Let's talk about why it happened so it doesn't happen again. Let's talk about how the effects of this thing are still happening to this day. Let's try and end some of that. So when we have conversations now, it's less of a attack on you for talking about how I feel.
Yeah. You know, the funniest thing I heard related to this is I think in Florida, they banned math textbooks because it had race theory. And I'm just like, where in a math textbook could it potentially have that? Like, I can't even imagine.
I don't know,
Was
man.
it like Billy had 5 slaves? If you subtract three of them, how many? If he sells three of them, how many would he have made? If
Oh
he's
my goodness.
999 a pop, like I can't imagine like where it would be some race theory in there.
I don't know.
Just, um, but my other thing is like when it comes to history, like I've heard that history is how does it go again? History is decided by the victor or something like that. The people who win the war is who like write the history, right?
Mm,
So they always gonna try and make themselves look in a good light. It's similar to like if I was to like complain about my wife to you, I gonna be talking about myself in a more positive light and my wife in a more negative light. Whereas
yeah,
if she was to tell you what happened, it gonna be the reverse. And I feel like it's the same thing here, where we have the quote unquote ruling class, which is the white people, sad to say, as gross as that sounds, um, they want their history to reflect positively on themselves.
yeah,
And so I think that's part of it. Is like they don't want, oh, we did this icky thing in the past, and we still technically have those views, but we don't want people to know that we did that kind
yeah.
of thing. We want to like rewrite history so it looked like we always was doing the right thing. We never lost a war and all that kind of stuff. And if you notice, it's mostly the southern states trying to pass these laws.
Hmm.
By the way, if anybody in chat has an opinion or disagrees with what we said or even agree with what we say, feel free to write a comment or just let us know what your thoughts are because we recognize that we are two black males. We probably don't know much about things pertaining to women,
Hmm.
and we definitely don't know about things pertaining to other races. So if you have some commentary, we're open to changing our opinions. We don't have strong emotional attachments to our opinions. So if you want to say something, feel free. We won't attack you or anything. We might disagree with you, so be open to that. But yeah, feel free to talk.
I'm still trying to Google like race math. I'm trying to figure out where that comes from.
Yeah, I think it's just a BS thing. It's kind of like I have a conspiracy theory.
Hmm.
So my conspiracy theory is, and this is going to be very political, sorry, but I think the Republican Party wants to create a a working class where people are being paid as little as possible, are dumb and easy to control, and reproduce as much as possible. So That's why they do things like, oh, we don't want people to have access to contraceptives,
Mm.
while simultaneously we don't want to give them sex education as well, and we don't want to have them have abortions because we want people to reproduce as much as possible. Then they attack the education system. Oh, we want to make sure that they don't have good education. That's why we don't want to put any more money towards education. We don't want them to have access to these textbooks or those textbooks.
Yeah.
So we have a dumb population that's easier to control. And then, if you have a dumb population, that also means you could pay them less and they won't fight back because they don't know any better.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like they're doing things to try to basically keep the rich rich or make the rich richer and make everybody else poorer.
Yeah.
And I think that's my conspiracy theory.
There's something called ethnomathematics, which I gotta read about more. I just learned about it. It's a study of how cultures mathematize. Okay.
Oh, that's a nice short definition.
So it says most of our school math has been stripped of its story, context, and history, leaving it meaningless for many. We tend to focus our math on the Greeks or other European cultures while ignoring indigenous knowledge and contributions. The idea is to create holistic, integrated units of study that are relevant to students. This sounds like a very lofty goal, it is, but we can start more simply in our classrooms by getting to know our students and their cultures. When I think about how ethnomathematics can be implemented into classes, I would say that in a nutshell, ethnomathematics focuses on culturally based math. This can include popular cultures that are relevant to students with the aim of social justice, land-based math, and environmental stewardship. Hmm.
I'm not gonna lie, I feel like this is unnecessary.
Yeah,
So I feel like I didn't learn about math history in math class. I just learned math.
yeah.
I think instead they should just relegate what they're talking about right here into just a history class or something. Because I in math classes I didn't, like, for instance, know that numbers were invented by the Arabs and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I didn't learn that in math class. I learned that from other places, other sources. In math class, I literally just learned math theory and that's it, like straight up. We didn't have any. I mean, I guess they could argue, well, you were just learning the Eurocentric version of math, so they didn't need to tell you, like, oh, this is a European thing and it came from.
Yeah.
But I guess I don't see the relevance of this. What does it have to do with learning math? I don't. I mean, I was a math major and I don't see the benefit of this
Yeah.
besides, like, just historical knowledge of, like, understanding, like, oh, math evolved from this and that.
I don't feel like inclusivity makes math any better or worse, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Let's just learn math and keep it moving.
yeah. I don't know.
I
I
mean,
feel like,
maybe if you know that your culture had a hand in making something, it was more important to you. But that's just a big maybe for me.
yeah, potentially, yeah. I have a question.
Yeah,
How did you make your thing disappear, the XSplit?
I paid for it.
You paid for it and you didn't even tell me so I could pay for it too?
I did tell you when I paid for it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, yes, I did. I told you I paid to get the thing gone.
How much did it cost? And is it for a year kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it's $60 a year, which to me is okay.
Yeah, that's not bad. Okay. My next podcast, mine may or may not be gone. I kind of try and save for a house, so $60 is a lot to me right now.
Yeah, man. Interest rate might go up too,
Um,
so you never know.
yeah, and the world might be ending, food shortage and all that. I might need to save my money to buy some guns or something. I don't know. Bow and arrow, go
Bow
hunting. I
and
don't know.
arrow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I gonna waste a heap of arrows. I already know. All right, let's move on. I think this is like I agree with these kids. I
Mhm.
do think that what is happening right now with their education is very weird. Um, it's kind of strange that I just don't understand a lot of Republican thought processes,
Mhm.
and I wish we had Republican audience members to, like, kind of explain their thought. I mean, when I say Republican audience, I mean more like middle of the road ones because I feel like the ones that exist right now are too extreme.
Yeah.
But I wish there were people in our chat who were right leaning who could have a nice civil discussion to explain, like, I don't know, the logic, because I don't understand it at all. I don't understand why they do what they do. I don't see how it benefits the country in any
Hmm.
way. All right, so moving on. Student loan forgiveness, another big topic, another potentially politically polarizing topic.
Mm.
But why income caps? That's the newest thing. They're trying to put income caps for student loan forgiveness, and why that would be a disaster.
Okay.
All right. So the Biden administration cannot afford to fritter away a historic opportunity by turning a winning policy into a political and bureaucratical fiasco. All right. This weekend, more than 460 women will get unusual letters in the mail. We are writing to you with good news. Bennett College, in collaboration with Rolling Jubilee Fund, has canceled the remaining unpaid balance you previously owed directly to the college.
Mm.
Bennett College is a small liberal arts college in Greensboro, North Carolina, and one of the country's two historically black colleges. Also, pause.
Yo.
When they cancel debt for a student, what does that mean? Does that mean the student stops paying the college or stop paying the government?
Mm.
Because here is saying that the college uh, cancel the remaining unpaid balance you previously owed.
Yeah.
Oh, directly to the college. Well, my thing is, right? Sorry, I have to. I can't even finish the article because this part already raising red flags to me.
Yeah.
Why are they canceling college debt that's paid directly to black colleges
Mm.
only? That's problematic. Black colleges are already uh, usually underfunded. Maybe I might be wrong here. I have to do some research here, but they may or may not be underfunded, or they have less because people want to go to the more prestigious colleges, which happen to be like Princeton and these other like BWIs. Is it BWI? Whatever, the white institutions basically. Um, and now you're telling me like, okay, so we are making decent money from our black students who decide, hey, I want to immerse myself in my black heritage and like black culture and stuff because I already exist in a country where that's very sparse and hard to come by unless I grew up in a black neighborhood, a predominantly black neighborhood. I want to go to a HBCU. And now you're saying, oh, if you're HBCU, you need to cancel the debt for your students. I don't know. I don't know. I feel I sense some racism here, but I don't know if I like picking out my ass.
You think it could be that the government pays for it for them and they still get the money?
If the government pays for it, then I don't see an issue.
If it's just that they're not getting
But
money at all, just giving out free degrees, then it's a problem. Well, free
yeah,
degrees previously has been owed from before.
yeah, I don't know. I think it would be nice if the government did pay it because if you really think about it, right? And
Mm.
this is a what? This is a college for the arts. Let me read what is it? Liberal arts college. I don't really know what a liberal art is. Give me 1 second.
That's what
I
we
want to
went
make
to.
sure it's what I think it is. I ain't gonna lie, the definition did not answer my question here. Let me read this definition to you. Liberal arts education is a traditional academic program in Western higher education. Liberal arts takes the term art from the sense of learned skill rather than specifically the fine arts. Liberal arts education can refer to studies in a liberal arts degree program or to a university education more generally. Such a course of study contrasts with those that are principally vocational, professional, or technical.
Mhm.
So, what does that mean?
I feel like
You
it's what we had in UVI, where it's not just like you're doing math or you're doing this, you're doing everything together holistically.
Okay. All right, let me read the rest of the article, see if they say anything else. Um, So it says most people have forgotten that the president pledged as a candidate to eliminate a minimum of 10,000 for every single borrower, in addition to vowing to cancel all undergraduate federal loans for people who attended public colleges and universities, as well as private HBCUs and minority serving institutions for people who earn less than 125,000 a year.
Mhm.
So unfortunately, the White House seems determined to move the goalposts. This month, in speaking about the loan cancellation, Biden said perhaps 10,000 tied to an individual's income will be forgiven for those who earn less than 125,000. Debt cancellation is the right thing to do, but 10,000 is nowhere near enough, and it should not be means tested in any way. In fact, those provisions are recipes for disaster.
Mm.
All right, I'm gonna stop here because again, I have more issues with this. I don't have a problem with them tying it to income per se.
Yeah.
My problem is different regions of America have different median, like different incomes. So
Hmm.
if you set it to one income, some places are gonna benefit a lot more than others. More specifically, I'm guessing rural areas, which also happen to be where most racists live, are going to benefit more than areas that are more
Urban.
what's the opposite of rural?
Urban.
Urban. Like urban areas are going to benefit less because their medium income, I mean their average income or median income, whatever you want to use, is going to be much higher because their cost of living is going to be higher. And that's the next thing that this doesn't really factor in, cost of living. Like income and cost of living right now in America are not very like equal.
Yeah.
People are living like cost of living is this high and they're living like right here. And they just happen to be above the poverty line, so they don't really get much help.
Yep.
So I don't know. I kind of feel like this is another area where it could be kind of problematic.
I feel like if anything from today's episode, we're learning that we need to probably do some more research because we're we're like evolving on the spot. So maybe we could take each category and make it our own episode. That sounds like something we could actually do.
Yeah, I definitely think more research on these topics would be nice.
Mm.
And we could probably do something like this again in the future where we just take one article and kind of deep dive into it.
Yeah.
Because we've never done something like this on this podcast before. We've always we've come up with topics on our own and then kind of talk about it.
Hmm.
But I think actually going to news and getting articles,
Yeah.
this was actually very interesting. I feel like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
very engaging for me.
It's good.
Hey, yo, y'all in the audience right now, if you're still there, if you haven't fallen asleep or if you haven't decided, hey, you know what?
Mm.
I'm gonna go watch what's a good YouTuber that's black?
I don't know.
I'm gonna watch RDC. Never mind, let's move on. Um, oh yeah, like, comment, subscribe if you like that joke. If you didn't, still do it. I think I think this would be nice for the podcast if we did more news articles. I
Yeah.
mean, we've done like Am I the Asshole and stuff like that,
Hmm.
but I think current events is more important because I've watched people like Abba and Preach talk about different things, and I like how they like give their opinion. They kind of try to be like middle of the road.
Yep.
Um, but I think we need more voices like them out there. We need more people who are like trying to critically assess a situation and talk in a as unbiased as possible way about a topic. And I think we could do that for sure.
And I feel like, excuse me, just like them, we often keep each other in check for the most part. Not like aggressively, but we tell each other, hey, you forgot to mention this, or you miss out on this, which actually helps keep us more on the borderline than to just swing right or left.
Mm. All right. Well, let's move on because I mean, student loan cancellation I think would be nice. I think student loan cancellation would be nice, but I personally have the opinion like I don't trust the government. I don't trust, yeah, that's just the truth. I don't trust the American government to do the right thing or to do things that are beneficial for the country. I feel like they have good intentions,
Hmm.
but at the end of the day, the we just get let down. And our country is right now in a slow decline. That's how I feel about America right now. Like it's a very disappointing place to be right now.
How would you
So I
feel?
don't,
How would you feel not having student loans would change your life?
dude, right now with no student loans,
Yeah.
I have more flexibility with my money,
Mhm.
right? I haven't paid student loans since the thing went into effect.
Yeah.
And before I was struggling. I was like, I still kind of struggling,
Mhm.
but like it's much more improved. Like I could even potentially buy a house now, whereas before I would not have even considered buying a house because I'd be like, we have these damn student loans to pay.
Mhm.
That's like almost $1,500 per month. Actually, more than $1,500 per month. Maybe $2,000 a month. I just don't have
Mhm.
because I have to pay these student loans, and I couldn't even pay extra towards the student loans because I'm not making enough money to do that.
And there's
And
interest
it
there,
kind of like
obviously, right?
everything. Mhm.
Sorry, there's interest there, right? Obviously.
Yeah, and there's interest on the loan.
Mm.
So that means, so for instance, one of my loans, I've actually paid more in interest than I paid for principal. Because when I was
Jeez.
younger, I didn't realize that you had to pay the interest while you were in school. So
Mm.
I didn't pay for like a couple of years. And then I had a heap of interest capitalized into my loan. So then when I started paying it, it was like, oh, you've paid like $7,000 in interest and only $1,000 in principal. And I was like, what the flip is this? So like stuff like that is like,
Yo, that stuff is crazy. Like we bought a bedroom set and like it was $100, $107 a month to pay for the set. So you pay that on the due date. During the month, we get a finance charge of $100. It's like,
wow.
when am I gonna pay off for this thing? I don't like that. I mean, I know it's economics or whatever, but I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like that too. Like, let me tell you another story. So I bought my wife's wedding ring from a local jeweler, and they had a thing where you could buy the ring through a loan program
Mhm.
where the loan is they'll pay the jeweler outright, like the full thing of the ring, and then you pay them back.
Mm-mm.
Um, and if you pay them back the full amount within 12 months, then you didn't have to pay any interest.
Okay.
But if you didn't pay them back within the 12 months, then all the interest that would have accumulated from the
Uh-huh.
original price
Uh-huh.
over the time, not even the price like in between payments, the original price, all the interest that would have accumulated will be added on to whatever is remaining by the
Mm,
time the end of the year comes.
that's crazy.
And then you have to pay that. So I look at the bill. So they give you like a minimum payment to pay every month.
Yeah.
The minimum payment would have never made me pay that off in a year. I was like, why would they not give me the minimum payment be what I would need to pay off in a year? Why would they give it? It was like less than half of
Yeah.
what I should have been paying
Oh,
to pay it off in a year. It's stuff like that that's like, why do they do stuff like this? Like they if I wasn't like a person who like thought about it and like did the crunch the numbers myself,
yeah.
I probably would have ended up having to pay the extra interest at the end of the year.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
I don't have student
But
loans, but my wife does, and that's held us back for a bit. But since we don't have them anymore to worry about, it actually helps us get the house. Because they're like, without the student loans being here, you can definitely get this house,
oh wait, you mean like
get a loan, a mortgage or easier.
is it on pause or you guys paid it off?
It's on pause due to what's
I
going on
was
right now.
copying. I thought you paid it off.
I wish.
But yeah, it being on pause does open up doors for sure. And I can imagine if it's removed completely, which I don't think ours will because some of ours doesn't fit the criteria.
Mhm.
So for example, I think my wife went to a PWI. So hers wouldn't be forgiven for
Mhm.
undergrad, whereas mine would.
Yeah,
But right now, our student loans are in the hundred thousands.
that's wild.
Yeah, so any help would help. You know what I mean? Like even if it got cut in half, that would still be better than
Yeah.
so. And I don't mind sharing like financial things online or anywhere because I feel like I want to just talk about this real quick is that people are so afraid to talk about their finances,
Yeah.
and I feel like it's a detriment.
Hmm.
Like, for instance, I don't know when I first started working, I didn't know how much I should ask for a salary
Yeah.
because nobody wanted to share their salary with me. Nobody wanted to tell me like, oh, this is an appropriate salary
Yeah.
for somebody working in your field. So when I came in, I was actually underpaid for like 3 years
Hmm.
before I realized, oh my gosh, I'm making like way less than people who are working in my field are making.
Yeah.
And it was like, why though? Because nobody wanted to be transparent with me because everybody's worried. I guess people worry about you being in their pockets, I guess. I don't
Mm.
really understand. I kind of understand people being in your pockets because there are people out there who like, oh, this person making this much money, I don't need to do this. I don't need to help them. Or um,
Mm.
for example, a friend of mine is getting married and her husband is an engineer. He makes good money.
Hmm.
She is a genetics person. She's starting to make good money now.
Okay.
She was not making good money before.
Hmm.
And so some people were like, "Oh, we don't need to do anything for your wedding because you guys can afford it."
Wow.
But it's like, but that's not the tradition though. The tradition is you guys are supposed to do certain things and we're supposed to do certain things.
Yeah.
So I can understand people being in your pockets and you wanted to like prevent that. But on the other hand, I feel like it's a double-edged sword because now you have people who, in some cases, they need to know how much you make so that they could decide for themselves, like, okay, I know like I have this much experience,
Yeah.
maybe not as much as that person, so maybe I should ask for a little bit less, but at least it'll be more in the ballpark.
I guess you have to go to like Glassdoor or Indeed or something and put everything in there and see what they give you. See the range that they give you.
Yeah. And I kind of feel bad because I haven't put my salary in there
You
because well, initially I didn't put it in there because when I found out that I was making less, I was like, I don't want to put it in here and then skew the results
know.
because then some
Yeah.
poor person in the future are gonna be like, oh, I should ask for this, and it's way less than it should.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And now that I'm making more, still not as much as I feel like I should be making, but
Hmm.
it's standardized because I'm working for the government now.
Yeah.
Um, Even now, I feel like I should be making more, and I still don't want to put it in because until I'm making how much I think I deserve, I don't want to. I don't want to put it in. But
I'm
if
not.
like friends or family ask me how much I make, I don't have a problem telling them. As long as they're a person who I don't think will be in my pockets and like thinking I should be able to do this and that because I'm making more money
Yeah.
than them or whatever.
It's sad to work for some place that everybody's making less than they should. Like everybody, based on the world
I agree.
standards, city standards, and no one can say anything. What you gonna say? Who's gonna listen really?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
How you feel about like pooling your money to like what's the word I'm looking for? Uh Dang, it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember it. But how you feel about pooling your money to like try and lobby, that's the word I'm looking for, lobby the government. Like I hear people talking about it, but I don't know if people are actually doing it.
I don't know either. I have to look into it some more. But I feel like we should. But then again, instead of being in your pockets, it's gonna be like, well, I paid this much, you paid this much, I have more say than you, and you have to worry about the in betweens of like the politics within the group.
I was thinking more like we vote on or like the group is specifically for a specific thing.
Mm,
Like this is a lobby for getting universal health care.
okay.
And then only people who want to contribute to that specific thing would join that lobby kind of thing.
Is there a minimum, maximum?
I would say there would have to be a minimum, but I wouldn't put a maximum because we don't want to prevent people who do feel more charitable from donating as much as they want to donate.
I understand. I'm always worried about the human factor in things.
Yeah, it's fair to think about that because yeah. Anything else about student loans we want to talk about? All
Glad I have none.
right, well, let's move on. So this is the fun topic, quote unquote fun topic.
Okay.
Although I don't know how fun it is because somebody got their butt whooped. Uh, I guess it's really up to the audience to decide if this was well deserved
Yeah.
on the person who got their butt whooped part or not. Mike Tyson addresses scuffle with airline passenger. He was F blank 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 with me. I'm gonna guess It's a four-letter word with ing added on to the end.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Um, Boxing legend Mike Tyson speaking out for the first time since he was caught on video. And there's a voice clip here that I didn't listen to, 2 minutes and 44 seconds long. Uh, Boxing legend Mike Tyson speaking out for the first time since he was caught on video, allegedly punching another passenger on a flight out of San Francisco last month. TMZ released a video that appeared to show Tyson punching the passenger identified as Melvin Townsend, who was seated a row behind him at San Francisco International Airport. According to the report, Townsend continued to badger Tyson after he told him to chill. He was F with me, man, Tyson said on the Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson podcast that aired Thursday, which I need to listen to that podcast. I've seen clips of it and I like the clips. I took pictures with this N.
Just keep
I
going.
shouldn't even be taking public planes, Tyson
Yeah.
added. My wife gets mad that I take public planes, but what am I going to do on a F plane with my friends and a bodyguard? He's supposed to watch me? Tyson, 55, went on to describe other encounters outside the ring, which he said triggers him. When asked if those altercations were losing situations, Tyson stated, yes, totally, 100%. A witness on the plane told the outlet that the former heavyweight champ was initially cordial to fans asking for photographs, but one man continued talking in Tyson's ear, which appeared to irritate him before punches flew. And the article goes on. But one thing I want to talk about here is yes, money pool. Replying to the chat. One thing I want to say here though, how did that guy feel though? Like, did those punches hurt? Like, was he able to like absorb them? Like, was he a trooper? Like, I want to know, like, from his perspective,
We gotta look for that.
how those punches felt. That's my curiosity.
You know they had to hurt.
No. So, did he turn like? I want to see the video now. I haven't actually seen the video.
Like I want to know if boxers, well, like if they in a regular fight, which they probably can't do because it's probably illegal. Like, do they know to hold back, or how do you even hold back a punch after training for so long to not hold back? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would think that it probably hurts more than when they in the ring because they have the gloves on.
Yeah,
But in real life, it's bare knuckle. And I don't know how hard or soft Mike Tyson's knuckles are, but his punches look hard. So
yeah,
he could be punching you with marshmallows on his knuckles and he's probably still destroying you. So
yeah.
I don't know.
That's crazy.
Whose side are you on though? Mike Tyson or the guy? Like, do you think Mike Tyson should face criminal charges? Which, by the way, I read the whole article and he did not face any criminal charges. Um, he didn't face any charges. So who you think is in the wrong here?
I feel like the guy's in the wrong, obviously, because he was provoking him. So you got what you deserve for the most part.
With that said, though, do you think people should ever reply to words with violence?
I
Because
never do.
remember with the Will Smith slap,
Yeah,
it could be quote unquote seen as similar, although I don't think it is.
yeah.
Personally.
I don't think
So
so,
what do you
but
think?
I don't know, man. I don't like, I don't like violence for words, but still, leave me alone. Like he told him multiple times to chill. Like, where's the same thing I talked about with you personally? Like, where's that line that you draw where like you just can't
Yeah,
take it anymore?
yeah, that's true. I think so. I would say this to just to standardize it for myself is I would personally draw the line where I've given you multiple verbal warnings
Mhm.
and I've even tried to distance myself from the situation, but you still coming at me to pester me. I think that's where the line is drawn because now I can't. If I can't escape, then I have to make you stop in some way. And I think sometimes, I mean, we're animals at the end of the day, right?
Yep.
Sometimes animals learn better when they receive a little bit of violence.
I,
So I think the guy deserved it.
I actually like this article for multiple reasons. I'm looking up the person, and it sounds similar to what we would hear after a police brutality incident. Man who Mike Tyson punched on flight has a long criminal history. Good. Good.
What's his complexion?
He is not like us.
Okay, so he's a one of these.
Yes.
Okay, okay, then never mind. I don't want to sound racist, but I do feel like people of that hue
Yeah.
push the limits often because they don't feel like they don't have a sense of like repercussions,
Yeah.
and normally seem to have a sense of entitlement. So,
But look at he was beating the hell out of him though. Like
oh, okay. So the only thing missing was a belt.
wait. Tyson 55 alleges that the incident got violent when Thompson threw a water bottle at the boxer turned cannabis entrepreneur. So there was a level of violence.
Oh, so the guy hit first too.
Yep.
See, why would you ever hit Mike Tyson? Are you dumb?
Is that a
Then
lion?
again,
Is that a lion? Oh, let me throw some rocks at it. Like
dude, that's like you. That's like you go up to a lion, right? The lion chilled. You put your head inside the mouth of the lion, it's still chill. Then you smack the lion like 10 times, and then put your head in the mouth again. Like, are you dumb? Are you dumb?
that's crazy. Why would you do that?
Is and Mike Tyson's apparently, based on the article and based on eyewitness reports, was chill. He was
Mhm.
like, "Dude, calm down, like
Yeah.
relax." And then I'm guessing the dude was even like antagonizing with words, and Mike Tyson still didn't resort to violence
Yep.
until I'm guessing he threw the bottle.
Yeah.
And then he was like, "Okay, I have some bottles for you right here."
Oh my
You,
gosh. You thirsty? You thirsty? Man.
somebody in the audience said that celebrities are people too,
Yeah.
and that is true. I think oftentimes we people forget that. Like people forget that just because these people are in the public light, one doesn't necessarily mean that they want to be there. Um, it's just a consequence of their profession.
Yep.
And then the other hand, people forget like just because you or other people worship these people,
Yeah.
don't mean that they're more than human.
Mhm.
And I think that's the problem. Like people worship these people so much, they put them on a pedestal. They can't do any wrong, and if they do anything that like, oh my gosh, dude, it breaks the image of them.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, this person isn't perfect like I thought. Then they just heap the hate on.
You
And
know,
there's a thin line between love and hate. So I even feel like hate is a kind of a love in a way.
yeah. But that's my biggest thing is like, why do we care so much? You know,
Yeah.
People have babies all the time. A celebrity has a baby, it's like groundbreaking news. Paparazzi there, it's on the news. They
Yep.
try and get the pictures from inside the room. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why? I don't know. I've never cared extremely about somebody unless it's something that they said that was like racial or something groundbreaking or like like something important. Not just like being onto the
Right, right.
beach in a bikini. This pictures. Why? Like why?
Yeah. You know, I always felt like I'm the kind of person where I don't have any kind of starstruck thing. So like if I actually have met a famous person in person.
Oh,
But let me just finish what I was saying. I don't ever feel like if I met somebody who's famous, I would ever be like asking for autographs or none of that stuff. I would just have a
mhm.
normal conversation with them like they're another person.
Yep.
And if you look at it, right, there are people like Kev on stage or other people who became famous, who part of it is when they met famous people, they didn't like act starstruck. They
Yeah.
just acted like they're another person. And then next thing you know, they're in those people's circles with them
Hmm.
because they didn't act like that person's a star. They just acted like, hey, you're a colleague, or hey, you're another person just like me.
Yeah.
So I feel like because people are so starstruck, I think they kind of miss opportunities a little bit. Like if you meet a star, you could just act normal. Maybe they might be like, hey, this is a cool guy. I
Yeah.
mean, very unlikely. You don't just meet somebody for the first time, like, this is a cool guy, and put him on a show. But
Yeah.
maybe like, this is a cool guy. If they see me again, they might remember that and not, and like, maybe it might open doors because they might remember.
Yeah.
I don't know. That might be a pipe dream. But I did meet a star once at a beach,
Mm.
and literally, I saw him and I was just like, "Oh, cool." I think I saw that guy on. I think he was on Power or one of
Mm.
those shows with black people doing stereotypical black shit. I was like, oh, cool. And then me and my wife just do our thing because we were just on the beach for ourselves. We weren't there for him.
Yeah,
And then after when he left, like he came back for his slippers and stuff. And then I was like, you think we should ask him for the autograph? I was like, nah, because he had forgot his sandals or whatever.
yeah.
And I was like, nah, I don't care about that. Like,
Mhm.
care about this. So yeah.
So you don't
I
know who
mean,
it
of course,
was?
there's I don't know his name. I don't care to try to figure it out. I just know he looked familiar and he was on Power. I did look him up afterwards though, but then I promptly forgot
That's
again.
good.
So
You
yeah,
definitely don't care.
yeah. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't like
Yeah.
misidentifying somebody.
My thing is, when I say I want to meet somebody like Kevin Hart or Chris Brown, it's not because I'm starstruck. I want to learn from them on like how they got to where they are, where they came from. Ask some questions that they probably would never get asked by anybody. But you know, when I do interviews, people are always like, "That's a good question." Like I want to ask them good questions and not ask for a hand up or
Yeah,
anything like that. You know?
yeah. I would say I want to meet stars, people who I think I like, who I think I want that their personality matches what I think their personality is.
Mm.
That's
Hmm.
the kind of thing I would like. Like for instance, Chris Brown. I feel like he would be a nice person to go like clubbing with,
Yeah.
or like Rihanna. Like she would be a good person to like sit down and like have a nice conversation with.
Yeah.
And of course, I have a crush on her, so it would be nice to go on a date. But you know, stuff like that. There's
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
don't really want to like be around them because they're a star. It's just because of their what I perceive their personality as,
Yep.
and I think they would be a cool person.
I agree.
So even like for instance, Kevin on stage, he's now friends with Angel.
Mhm.
I forgot her last name. Moore. Angel that because she just said her full first, middle, and last name when she talked about herself, and it's
Yeah.
very hilarious. But I have a big crush on her too,
Yeah.
and I feel like she's a good vibe. Like she's ratchet enough. She is exactly my type. Ratchet, but smart and like like she's a
Yeah.
smart person who like is funny and like chill.
Do you watch her show?
So, which show is that?
The drinking one, where she has friends over and they drink and they do crafts, cocktails and crafts, I believe it's called.
I don't really watch. I don't really watch them stuff anymore. Like I don't even watch Kev on stage anymore. I just feel like bored with
Yeah,
it.
I
Just a
feel
lot of
bored with
talking. I don't really
all
care to.
media too.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's
So
sad because it was like woo, and then like
yeah, yeah.
I don't know what it
I'm kind
is.
of bored with it. So I don't really watch any other stuff. But every once in a while, my wife will be listening to it, and I would overhear it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the only times. The only other thing I do now with social media is I just use things for background noise.
Mhm.
So, well, when I say social media, I mean YouTube specifically. I
Yeah.
just put things on for background noise.
It's hard for me to find something that I want to watch anywhere because I feel like my attention span has gotten smaller. Thank you, wife, for this food.
Thank you.
You need it? Sure. Click on the button. All right.
I love you,
I
husband.
love you too, wife.
I bid you adieu.
Aw.
Adieu.
Oh yeah, that's the stuff.
It is. It's stuff.
Um, speaking of which,
Uh-oh.
speaking of stars, and let me stop talking for a second.
You good.
Speaking of stars and people in on screen, let's talk about adult stars. So we had the idea to do a podcast where we interviewed an adult film actress or actor,
Mhm.
um, because I read an interesting article about how it's people who work in the adult film industry are unable to ever leave the industry. I was reading an article about this lady who, well, it's much harder for women than men. So let's actually start there. The female actress wanted to leave the adult film industry because she didn't want to do that for her entire life. She just wanted to do that for a little bit, go back to school, get a
Mhm.
degree because she was young when she started. She started at like 18 or something, or 19.
Yeah,
She retired at 21, or wanted to retire at 21, to then go into school and then work in a field. She actually did get a job as an actuary, but then a colleague found one of her old videos and told the entire office that she was an adult actress.
crazy.
And so she got harassed and stuff, so much so that she was let go or she quit. I don't remember which one happened. But basically, she had to leave the job because of all the harassment and all the stuff. And I guess maybe she got let go because the company didn't want to be associated with a ex actress and also somebody who didn't, for some reason, put that on their resume. Which I don't know why you would put that on your resume. Like, anyway, so she then went back to school again, got a different degree, got a different job, etc. She repeated the process like 2 or 3 times until she just kind of like felt defeated, and then she just went back to the adult industry. But instead of being on camera, she became like behind the camera,
Yeah.
filming and doing other stuff. But the point is, she could only work in the adult film industry when that wasn't really her plan for her whole life. And that got me to thinking, like, in this world, first of all, why wasn't the person who found the imagery of his co-worker, why wasn't he fired as well? Or why wasn't he harassed? Because why would you ever share that you've been watching porn at work? Like, that's so inappropriate.
Mm.
And I feel like that's kind of like a sexual harassment thing as well. Like, that's like if you saw like your colleague at the beach wearing like a thong or whatever, and then you come to work the next day and you start talking about her wearing a thong at the beach. I feel like that would be sexual harassment, right? So why wouldn't talking about your colleague being in a porn video be sexual harassment? I don't know. I feel like it's kind of weird
It is
to
weird.
bring up at work.
Yeah.
And then also feel like it's kind of wrong to like pull people's sexual history, regardless of if it was public or private, against them. Like, who cares that she was a porn actress? What does that have to do with your company? Like,
Mhm.
is she doing a good job? Is she, like, are they doing what they're supposed to do? Are they bringing in profit for your company? Like, that's what you should be focused on, not what their past was. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to me.
I feel like if they're not the face of the company, it definitely shouldn't matter at all.
Yeah. So we had the idea to do a podcast where we actually contact some porn actresses, maybe one that's retired or pseudo retired, because and one that's currently or fresh in the scene.
Hmm.
I also had another idea, which is people who act versus people who do their own self thing, like they do their own like individual thing.
Hmm.
Because there are people who work for companies, and there are people who do their own like amateur-ish stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so I was thinking to reach out to them and kind of like get one or two people to come on the podcast, and we have questions for them, like what's life like before they became a actor, adult film actor, what life is like now that they are one, and then what are their future plans, like retirement, how they plan for the future. Because I know a lot of them, unless I've read that unless they start their own businesses,
Yeah.
which is what happens in order for them to retire, they start their own business. Unless they do that, they pretty much get stuck having to work
Yeah.
in the scene forever.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like no other field does this, has that disqualification. Like if you're a scientist and you want to become I don't know, you want to work at McDonald's, then like, well, you were a scientist. Well, they do that actually, but they don't let you do
Yeah,
that.
you're
You're
overqualified.
overqualified.
Yeah. Which is also weird too. Like, I don't like back in the day, when I was looking for a job, people would tell me I was overqualified, and I'd be like, dude, I need a job though. Like, just because I went to college does not mean I'm overqualified. Also, you said in your thing that you wanted somebody with a bachelor degree, which, by the way, is kind of cringe.
Yeah.
That now bachelor degree is becoming the standard for every job, even jobs that require literally no skills.
Hmm.
Like, why do I need a bachelor degree to work at friggin' McDonald's? I literally learned on the job. Like when I used to work at Subway,
Hmm.
I learned on the job. I didn't necessarily have to go to school for that. Like,
Yeah,
I
that's
don't see
true.
why I would need a bachelor's degree. I
Yeah.
think part of it though is that people who are more educated are less likely to be problematic employees.
I can feel
But
that.
still, it's just
Yeah.
weird.
So now college is once again becoming a must do.
Yeah, but I'm gonna tell my kid, you know, I don't care what they do for a living as long as they living well enough. Like as long as they feel happy with their life.
Yeah.
They don't have to go to school or college or anything, as long as they have a plan. Because I was listening to somebody named Tim Chantaransky. Tim Chantaransu. Sorry, Tim, if I mispronounce your name, but his
Yeah, he's
old name
definitely listening.
is Timothy Delgado. His old screen name used to be Timothy Delgado, and he was talking about how like his parents really wanted him to go to school, but he always knew that he wanted to be um, like a star. Like he wanted to be in that field, like an actor, musician, like those kind of stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
So he was like, when he started doing a YouTube thing, he already saw the potential for YouTube to like make him become that, and
Yeah.
it did. But he was like, he didn't see the point in going to school because he could already pursue his dream without having to do that. But he just did it because his parents kept pushing it on him. So
Yeah.
he just was like, I'll just take any old degree. Like I'll just take the most useless one and hurry up and finish school so I could continue doing this. And
Yeah.
then he was like, but I didn't even finish. He's like, I
Yeah.
went to school for like 2 years and I just like, then YouTube started blowing up. So then I just started focusing on that more.
Yeah.
And to me, that makes sense. Like if your kid has a craft, like for instance, my brother even, he's a mechanic, very good mechanic. Like he's always been into cars and stuff, even bikes, like anything mechanical since he was a kid.
Yeah.
And he always had a knack for it. And now he's doing his dream. He's been living his dream for a while now. Even trying to open up his own businesses and stuff.
Yeah.
By the way, plug Simple, Cymple. Look it up. It's his clothing brand line and his line for his company. He does a lot of stuff where he fixes cars. I could let you talk to him about the details. I think he does interiors of cars. He does electronics, anything you could think of. Right now, he works. I don't want to say where he works because I feel like I might be giving TMI, but right now he works for a big car manufacturing company that produces electric cars. Let's just leave it at that. And yeah, he's like the top of his craft. He also sells parts for cars. Anyway, too much of a plug. Check it out. Simple, Cymple.
Yes.
If you're into cars, you'll love it. But I just like the idea that he probably potentially didn't even have to go to school though. He could have just went straight into his field after going to trade school, which I think is what he did actually. So it's like there's so many different paths to living your dream and making money.
Yep.
Why are we trying to like pigeonhole it into like you have to go to college specifically? And then college oftentimes doesn't even give you the experience you need to get hired.
Nope. You need to go to college and work at the same time, basically.
Yeah.
Because you have your degree
That's why,
after 4 or 5 years, and then they're like, you need 6 years of experience as well. 6 years of experience? Huh?
Yeah. I feel like that's why every school needs to become a college. Like, doctors, they go on rotation. Lawyers, you're expected to like go to like a firm and like be a clerk for a while.
Yeah.
Like these jobs that actually like have a pathway towards the job, they need more schools to be specialized like this instead of having these like generalist schools like, oh, I'm gonna be a public health person, but there's no like pathway towards that.
Yeah. It's a lot of improvements to be made.
Yeah, I feel like America has so much potential. Like I love the country, the idea of the country, but I don't like the current state of the country. Like I wish we could improve a little bit more. I wish we would stop being at war with each other and making everything political and just like use logic, man. Like we don't need to make everything into like us versus them.
Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah. So that's it for the articles. Anything else that you want to talk about?
Not really.
Oh, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If you had to take one punch from Mike Tyson,
Uh-huh.
you could block it.
Okay.
You don't have to take it just square. You could block it. You could do whatever you have to do to like protect yourself if you don't want to take the full brunt force.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had to at least take one punch from him to get $1 million, would you do it?
Yeah. 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 Let's try and buy a house.
True. Yeah,
Pay
yeah,
that
yeah.
shit off in full.
Would you do that, pay it in full, or would you pay it over time?
I don't know. I think I would
Because
probably make a bank account, put the money there, and have them pull it automatically to build my credits. But that's the only reason why.
I was thinking like, um, online they talk about like investing and like make your money work for you and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking like one reason I might not pay it off in full would be because I want to get the tax benefits. I think you get tax breaks for the interest on your loan,
Mm.
your mortgage, I mean. So I would want to keep that. If you don't pay a mortgage, then you don't get a tax break, basically.
But if you
But
don't pay a mortgage, you have like $300,000 for the rest of your life to just not worry about.
true. I don't know. I wonder if we need to like get economists on the podcast as well.
That'll be good.
Or somebody else on the podcast, like a
I think I
financial.
just met one actually recently.
Hmm. Well, that'd be nice. We need to get more people professional. Well, we already had a lot of professionals on the podcast. And honestly, I feel like our podcast does really well with professionals on it, talking about their field.
Of course.
So I feel like the if we ever do get a prawns star on here,
Mm.
that's gonna be a good podcast.
Well, definitely.
I could imagine we will have some really good questions for them, and hopefully we could help reduce the taboo around their line of work because I'm personally for it. Like I think a few things should be legal in America that are not, but I won't list them. But
Yeah.
I think a few things in America should be legal because it would be easier to like make sure that it's safe for people involved.
I try to set up right now.
What do you say?
Try to set it up right now. Get the economists there.
Cool.
So we'll see.
Cool. All right. So before we were doing the news articles, we were gonna do "Am I the A-hole?" You
I think
think
we
we could
should.
do one before we
Yeah,
leave?
let's just do one for the fun of it, and then just keep it separate.
Okay, so this is a separate thing. That's the end of the breaking news, guys. Give us your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think about what we've talked about today? What are your opinions? Do you have opinions that differ from us or are in line with us? Just let us know. What are your thoughts on the current student loan forgiveness stuff? How has it impacted your life? Have you been able to do more things now that your money has been freed up? Or have you been paying your loan still while it's been interest free? Because some people did continue paying. And how has that affected you? Do you feel like better because you paid off more of your loans? Or could your money have been used for something else? Let us know. Don't forget to like if you did like the video. And if you dislike the video, go ahead and give us a thumbs down. Let us know. We can look at that so we can see what we need to improve. And take some time to subscribe. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything, but it supports us and it lets us feel like, hey, we did something today.
Yeah.
We don't get paid, so subscribing is literally free for you.
All right, let's go.
All right. Moving on into AITA. All right. So I don't actually have any pulled up. I thought you did. But
I took them down because we weren't doing it anymore. Yeah, I did.
All right, no problem.
Do the fourth one that comes up.
The fourth one, I can't even find it.
Oh my gosh.
By the way, I installed a new browser called DuckDuckGo. And it's good, but also bad. So now when I search in Google, I don't get as accurate results as I used to get. Because DuckDuckGo doesn't keep track of like your search history and stuff.
Yeah.
So then, yeah,
So you want me to go?
yeah,
Okay.
shoot.
Am I the asshole for insulting my wife after finding out she stole a ton of money from me and gave it to her friend who was undergoing cancer treatment? After my wife, 32 female, and I, 35 male, got married, we decided it'd be best to keep our funds separate. Essentially, we have a joint rainy day fund and a joint general expense slash bills account. While my wife is a preschool teacher and unfortunately does not make much money, I'm an engineer and make a pretty decent salary. Due to the income gap, I am the sole funder of the joint accounts. Outside of those two accounts, our bank rolls remain completely separate. Some years ago, I was advised to invest my money and diversify my portfolio. Over 3 years, I was able to save 130,000 worth of fund savings, as in money that wasn't going towards necessities or retirement. After saving 130K, I felt financially stable enough to purchase my dream car. So, even though my wife discouraged it, I went ahead and spent 120K on a used high-end luxury sports car. I loved the car and thoroughly enjoyed driving it every weekend for about 2 years. After those 2 years, my wife begged me to sell the car. She said I was too old to be zooming around town in a six-figure impractical man toy. Keeping my son, 3 years old now, in mind, I agreed it was best for every car we owned to be a practical four-door. So a little over a month ago, I sold the car to a private buyer for 114K. The guy I sold it to paid for it in 100% physical cash. So I took the cash and put it in a big safe I keep in my home office closet. The cash remained there for multiple weeks, to my part. Context behind the preceding events. My wife's childhood best friend, Sally, who is also a preschool teacher, got diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer late last year. The argument. A couple days ago, I finally planned to deposit all the cash to my safe. So I checked my safe for the first time in a month, foolishly, only to discover all the money was missing. I flipped out. The safe was locked when I checked it, so I immediately asked my wife if she went in there. She said she was planning on telling me she took all the money and gave all of it to Sally for treatment costs and to make her life easier after treatment. I questioned why she would ever think of taking that much money without asking, unacceptable, and she responded by calling me greedy and saying Sally needs the money far more than I do. I retaliated by calling her a brainless moron and telling her she gave away a huge chunk of my savings and it's not about greed. I was angry. I was incredibly lucky to profit 130K over 3 years of investing, and it'll be near impossible to duplicate. The worst part is I would have loved to help Sally. I could have given her some cash to help lessen her burden, but giving away 114K is just insane to me. I'm not a millionaire. The car purchase was idiotic looking back at it. The past two
So
days have been awful. We haven't spoken except in regards to our son. Am I the asshole?
no, I have so much to say about this article. Holy shit, dude.
Dude, the comments are going crazy.
Holy cow, dude.
Divorce under
So,
lawsuit. She gave away his money from their separate finances. That's crazy.
yo. So, first of all, I don't personally agree with splitting your money when you're married,
Hmm.
but I can see the benefits of it.
Yeah.
So for me, my wife and I, we have our money joined, and then I'm in control of all our money. It sounds kind of cringe, but how it works is I do a budget every 2 weeks, which is a zero sum budget. You can look it up yourself, a zero sum budget, where all the money we have, I allocate to different things for 2 weeks. Then the next 2 weeks, I do it again. So all the money is accounted for. We both know what all the money is going to be used for, or where it's going to be saved, all that kind of stuff. So there, I take her input. If she says like, "Hey, I need this, I need that," I make sure I work it into the budget.
Uh-huh.
So regardless of who's making more, we have a general idea of where all the money is going. Um, I personally feel it's still unbalanced. You know, wife still spends more than husband, but also women have more upkeep. So it's not a problem for me.
Yeah.
Um, but I could also say the benefits of that thing that this guy is doing with his wife because basically it's kind of the same, except for that individually they have their own account where they do their own individual budgets.
Hmm.
but then they have the joint to pay all the stuff that is shared.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say that could be problematic about that is when it comes to kids, who pays for the kids when you're out? Like if you're out with the mom, does she use her personal money to pay for the kids, or does that come from the joint account?
Mhm.
You know, stuff like that I feel could be potentially problematic. But that was my first thing here. It was just like I don't fully agree with the splitting of accounts, but I could see the practicality of it. What are your thoughts on that?
Just to add insight, I think he said that he pays for the joints period anyway. So it's either her money or his money. It's not like a joint, not necessarily joint in that regard.
That's fair. He did say that. He did say that.
Yeah.
But also that's weird too. Like I don't
Yeah.
think that makes sense. So she just have all her money to herself, doing God knows what,
Exactly.
probably wasting it,
Yeah.
right? And then he paid for everything, which I guess is fine because
It makes
he
a
has
lot
enough
more.
money to do
Yeah.
that. But still, I wouldn't feel comfortable with that either. Like I wouldn't like if my wife all her money was only used on her,
Yeah.
and then all my money is used on everything else. Like that doesn't
Yeah.
seem fair to me.
I feel like that may be like somewhat of the old school traditional way, like the man just provides and the woman does what she does, and then eventually became where it's like more joint. But I like a hybrid where it's like we have a joint account, we put money together, and we have our own separate things that we do. Or we have one joint account and we take an allowance from that and then use the rest for the important things, which is what you do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like when people tell me like I have a separate account in case something happened, like in case of a divorce or whatever, I'm like, good on you, like do what you have to do. It's your own situation. But for me,
Yeah.
I don't really care.
Yeah, and people are talking about like I don't have a separate account in case of a divorce. I don't like that either because to me that's like you have one foot out the door.
Yeah.
And to me that means like you're kind of looking for your divorce to fail. I mean your marriage to fail.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be doing that if you really respect your vows and stuff. It should be, to me the only reason to divorce is because of abuse. That's the only reason to divorce in my opinion.
Maybe the person give them some red flags or some insight to probably protect yourself. And then in that case, you're not really thinking what's happening, but it's like in the back of your mind, you're like, well, this is a red flag. There's something could happen in the future. Let me just be safe. So I guess there's, pros and cons and
Yeah, it's more complex, I guess.
yeah.
The next thing I want to talk about was his buying the car. I think one thing I noticed between in every relationship, there's always somebody who spends, and then there's somebody who saves up and then spends.
Yeah.
And I think he saved up for his car.
It wasn't even
So
saving. That's like it was like a gamble. It's investing. So the money built itself up over time. So he did actually save for
yeah,
it. I
well,
guess you're
technically he did.
yeah,
He
yeah, yeah.
did, but he did it in a way that like was unconventional.
Conventional. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So he saved for a car and then he bought the car. Granted, I think spending 130 of investment money on a car is not what I would do. I
yeah.
would want to keep growing my money,
Mhm.
especially since I want to retire at some point. But whatever, he bought his car. I don't think that's a problem because he did
No.
save up for it. He did have the money for it. He had all the money for it.
Yeah.
He bought it outright. So to me, like if she saved up for something or she did investments where she was able to accumulate a lot of money and she bought something, that would also be fair because she saved up for it. And to me, it's always better to save up and buy something than to put it on your credit card.
Yeah.
So I don't see a problem with him buying the car. I don't think it was stupid or anything. I mean, maybe it was stupid in terms of like I wouldn't do it myself,
Yeah.
but in terms of like I want to read that comment in a second. In terms of like, I wanted something, so I got it. I don't think that idea is stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think so either. Like in our family, we sometimes just do stuff for ourselves because we both don't. Like I'll just give her all the money from the checks to cover bills or whatever, get her pedicure, manicure, make her feel nice, and then she does the same for me as well. You know, she makes way less than me. Well, not way less, but she makes less, but she still looks out for me. Like we do for each other when we do for ourselves. So one day we're like, you know what? Just get it for yourself, and just do that, and then go back to the original because that's what it is. We just always give, we never take. So the one time we do take, it does make us feel a little bit good, you know.
Yeah. I think that's important. I'm a kind of person. The only thing I ever abuse my money for is to buy games. I
But
don't
it
really
makes you
know if
happy
I.
though, so it's okay.
Yeah. Um, but I do think like people should. It should be okay. And there's actually what's the thing? Let me see if I can find it real quick. It's
And
on Parks and Rec,
mm.
where the Indian dude and the black lady are like, treat yourself. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's my favorite like interaction in the whole show. Like treat yourself.
And to be fair,
But
guys, he's spending like $60 every 3 months, and he's caught out abusing money. Just so they know what you talk about. He'll be like, dude, this game is on sale for $6, but I don't know if I should get it or not. Like what? What?
I don't like spending money, to be honest.
Yeah, I
I like
know.
to I like to try and save up for big purchases. Like if I want to go on a trip or something,
Yeah.
I feel like any little spending in between that is me like using the money that I should be saving. So,
Man.
but somebody in the comments said, I like to think it's been prepared. I have a friend that got divorced. It's being prepared. I think that's what they mean to say.
Mm.
I got a friend that divorced wife cleaned out his bank account and he had to start over. So they have one too. They have a side account, I guess. I think that's the problem, right? Is like I've thought about this as well, being married. You
Mm.
know, I think about like, okay, what happens if my wife and I divorce?
Yeah.
I basically gonna be screwed because I've been the main breadwinner for the majority of our marriage. And if we divorce, then I gonna have to either pay alimony or I gonna lose half of everything, and it's gonna mostly suck for me.
Yeah.
Uh, most consequences, like I think about the consequences for each person, and I feel like the burden of consequences is gonna be higher on me than it would be on her.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's really unfair. But it's like, what can you really do?
Okay.
Can I make a side account? Can I make a trust fund like what rich people do? Make a trust fund and put all my money in there and be like, oh, I don't have no money.
Mm.
I mean, I could do that, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
So I think about these things, and but I also feel like because of my views on marriage, I would do that as like the very last resort. I wouldn't just have a side account just in case. I would probably be like, if I start to see like, okay, this is something that's not going to be ever repaired,
Yeah.
then I might create a side account. But until then, I won't.
But then does it matter in that regard though?
What do you mean?
I'm just thinking out loud because if you make a side account and you see it's going downhill, are you ever gonna get divorced? Or you just keeping a side account and staying married? Like
I have a pretty good.
when do you actually decide to get divorced, and like how does that play into the side account?
Well, I'm the kind of so I believe that I have enough experience with past relationships where I could see when a relationship is there's no potential for it to improve.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, there's always things in relationships where because of the person's personality or because of whatever, they might not change.
Yeah.
But in situations where they're not even trying to change,
Yeah.
like because people could try, but they might not be able to change.
Yeah.
Like I might just be a messy person. I might try to clean up, but I still gonna be messy, right? I can't
Mm-hmm.
control that.
Yeah.
And maybe somebody might be like, I won't divorce you if you don't ever clean, like if you don't get better.
Yeah.
But I think it's more important to look at if the person is trying versus whether or not they actually do the thing.
I understand.
And in that case, if I notice that my partner isn't trying anymore, or like I feel unhappy and like I voice my unhappiness and it doesn't seem to have an effect,
Mm-hmm.
then I think in that case I would be like, okay, let me start preparing. And then it wouldn't be a deadline.
Mm-hmm.
I would just start preparing and things may change, things might improve. Maybe the person might get a change of heart, or maybe we work through something, maybe we went to a therapist, who knows. In that case, I would tell the person about the account and why I made it. And, because full disclosure, my wife has actually created a side account before.
Mm-hmm.
And it was during a time in our marriage where we were going through a lot of stuff, a lot of arguing, a lot of like divorce talk and stuff.
Yeah.
And like I said, you know, I'm the main breadwinner, so she had nothing of her own at the time. Well, she was working at the time,
Yeah.
so I guess she was preparing in case like she didn't have a job again because she was trying to go back to school and all that.
Yeah.
So she had a side account, and when things improved, she told me about it. And I was at first I was like a little annoyed that she did that, but then I was like, you know what, I understand, but now that things are better, I think you should get rid of it. Like I think now that we both on the same page, we've been working on this, I think you should get rid of it. And she did. So I think in that case, like I feel like it could be a thing where you do it as a just in case, but it shouldn't be like all the time. Like I feel like if it's all the time and your marriage is going well, I don't know, that just seems a little
I know
like
where you're coming from. I know where you're coming from.
subversive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But I don't know. In this world, you can never be too safe. You know. I don't know.
that's true. But then why not just get a prenup or like a postnup?
People hate that word for some reason, but it makes so much sense for the guy.
Yeah, it does.
I was
I kind of wanted to do one, but I didn't do it.
listening to I sent you a video, I think, on men's rights, which we never talk about. But there's one section where I guess they were on a podcast, and the lady was like, alimony makes sense because you're trying to preserve the lifestyle that you had while you were married. So they asked her, well, would you pay alimony to your husband if to maintain his lifestyle? She would never do it. Obviously, double standard, but it's like that's the world that we live in, you know?
Yeah, I do think that it's a very unfair system that we have in place to some degree. I understand some things
Yeah.
where children are involved. You want to definitely have systems in place that protect children,
Mm-hmm.
but systems in place that protect spouses, I'm not 100% sure about those. Like,
Yeah.
if we break up, I understand splitting half and half everything that we accumulated after marriage. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I don't know about alimony. Like, it's not really my fault that you were a preschool teacher while I was an engineer. Like, yeah, you got used to living in this lifestyle with me, but that was the benefit of being married to me. That was not a benefit that you get after we divorced. Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. I don't know, man. There's a lot of rework needs to be done in the whole nation on so many issues.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well,
That was fun.
so the answer is no, he's not the asshole. in my opinion.
Yeah, for real. Wait, we
Wait,
didn't
wait, no,
finish.
you missed one thing to talk about. You missed
Yeah.
one thing to talk about.
What's that?
Giving the money to the friend.
Yeah, we didn't finish. We got so happy and so positive. We're like, no, we never end things. Come on, no. $110,000 just giving away.
That's a big gift. That's crazy. And to not talk to your spouse about it,
But it's his money.
I mean, what's yours is mine, right?
No.
Just kidding. But I just kidding. Just kidding.
Well, to end this thing.
I'm just kidding.
That's
But
crazy.
I feel like even if the money was not just his, even if it was shared between them,
Yeah.
that still would be crazy to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like if my wife ever did something where she like bought something for like a lot of money, I mean, I get upset with her for buying things with small amounts of money. Like if I just suddenly see something in the house, like when did you buy that? And why you didn't ask? Why you didn't talk to me about it?
Is that
Like,
a
I
vac?
literally
Is that
talked
a
about it about-
vacuum? Is that a vacuum you have
Yeah.
right there?
I don't care if it's for the house. Like you didn't talk to me about it. Like, because I mean, on my end,
Yeah.
I tell my wife literally everything. It's like, oh, I'm at the mechanic, and the guy says we need to pay this much for the car. Is it okay for me to do it?
Yeah.
Boom. It's something like obviously I have to do it,
Yeah.
but I still going to let you know like I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. Like I feel like it's always good to like have your partner be aware, even if you're gonna do it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just have them be aware. Like to me, the doing it without him knowing is problematic. I honestly think they should get divorced.
They probably might.
Maybe they
No.
might need to talk about it a little bit. And
You
because
can't.
I don't know. I don't think you should divorce per se. I think they need to talk about it and set boundaries and standards. Like, hey, you can't ever do this again, ever again. Like you need to talk to me about every spending.
But she's not because it's her money, and you see that's the thing. She has no reason or obligation to talk about her spending because her money is literally her money. That's what the money separate is for. He gets money for himself and the two joint accounts. So she can talk about those, but her money, she don't talk about it.
Maybe. I feel like, but this wasn't her money though. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah, but you see, if you tell her in the future she has to talk about what she spends, she doesn't because it's her money.
I would well in that case, like to shift it to their like circumstance, I would say you need to talk to me about any money that's in the shared accounts or any money that's supposed to be mine, because
Yeah,
obviously you don't respect that,
yeah,
that you plan on spending, so
yeah.
that I could be aware and I could have some input. And
Yeah.
my input should matter more than yours because well, it shouldn't in the joint stuff. But at least the stuff that's mine, my input should matter
Yeah.
because it's mine. Like it's so weird
It's
because if he was to
complicated.
go and tell her what to do with her money, I'm sure she would not be okay with it.
Yeah, it's wild, bro. You think she should pay him back?
Yeah. Pay him back with what? Pennies?
You see, like it's so complex and complicated for their situation. It's like, oh, you can't even pay him back ever.
Yeah.
Your
And the
whole
thing is, as he said, like me, like my wife friend needed the baby formula, like I told you, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
My wife buying it for her friend as a gift, but it's all my money because I'm the only one working.
yeah.
So it's actually me getting her friend a gift, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't look at it that way. I look at it as my wife getting her friend a gift
We're one.
because
Yeah.
we're together.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, I'm pretty sure he would have felt the same way. Like we're married. Your
Mm-hmm.
friend need help with money. You want to give her some money? Sure, let's agree on what's an appropriate amount to give.
And he did say that,
Crazy.
man.
But to give her all, and it was in his locked safe.
That's stealing.
Literally. Damn, I spit on my screen.
Oh
Jeez.
man, leave a comment below if you feel the same way about this money situation.
Yeah. Let us know what you would have done in his shoes. Would you divorce? Would you try and talk it out and like set boundaries so she doesn't repeat this kind of behavior? What would
That's
you do?
crazy, man. Well, that's been our show. A late night version. Rabbit Hole After Dark, maybe not. But we'll see you guys in 2 weeks, hopefully with a better structured show. But this was fun either way.
Yeah, this was a nice one.
Yeah.
It was very impromptu, but still like structured in a way.
All right, man. Have a good evening, everybody. Peace.